Hello there. I'm Crystal Wittevrangle, collaborating with Common Sense Calgary, here today with Andrew Yule, who is running for Ward 3 in Calgary's upcoming 2025 elections. Andrew, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, I'd love to hear more about you. What in your background are you bringing forward in your push for City Hall?
Yeah, well, I've grown up in Ward 3. I like my parents were one of the first houses in Hanson Ranch. So I've lived a generation of missing and poor infrastructure that I'd like to bring a voice to, and that I have been bringing a voice to. I helped get the North Trail High School built, and I started the Nose Creek Preservation Society. And I just want to continue being that local community voice, bringing local community issues to council. My background in my career, I've been 20 years in supply chain and logistics, and the last 9 years I've been in a VP executive role with my company at Seoul and Recork. And so I want to bring both kind of my business background as well as my local advocacy background to really kind of give a good representation to Ward 3.
Awesome. And so what are you hearing from your ward? What are some of the big priorities leading into this election?
It really comes down to infrastructure. Like I said, we've grown really rapidly in Ward 3. If you look at the 2021 census, we're like Ward 3 is about the size of a city like Airdrie. But we have like a third of the amenities and infrastructure that Airdrie has. And so like when I was growing up in Hanson Ranch, like it was very low density sprawl. And so the expectation was, yeah, you'd wait for the infrastructure to slowly come in. But now with the new high density sprawl going in north of Stony Trail, we can't wait. Like we have to be making sure that we have the infrastructure to support this huge influx of population that we're putting in Ward 3. And so that's the big thing, is we want to make sure that Ward 3 is ready for like, we're going to be a city of 2 million people pretty soon here. And we have a huge infrastructure deficit that we need to catch up on. And so that's a big thing that I'm hearing at the doors, and what I want to kind of bring to council in this next term.
Yeah, and so in addition to the critical infrastructure, or not critical, but infrastructure concerns, I have so much I want to talk to you about. I have like seven different things floating out of my mouth at one time. Are you hearing things about property taxes and spending? I know polling is showing that those are also top concerns, but for Calgarians, maybe not necessarily those in Ward 3, but as a city as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, every community I go to, people talk about how our taxes keep going up, but the return on investment doesn't seem to be there when you look at the condition of our roads and services here in Ward 3. And so what I've been saying at the doors is like, I'm not going to be the counselor that's going to say that I'm going to freeze taxes or I'm going to lower taxes, because I can't guarantee that with the budget coming up here in November, and the rapid growth and inflation that we're facing in Calgary. Like I can't make a guarantee that taxes are going to go down. But what I have been saying is like, we do need to be very meticulous in November when the budget comes to council, looking line item by line item to make sure that we are addressing the main concerns that Calgarians are bringing to us. And that really comes down to the core services up here in the north. We're making sure that, yeah, we're filling those potholes, that we're dealing with lawn care, that's the city's responsibility, that we're making sure that the roads are being cleared for when it snows. Focusing on what the city's supposed to be focusing on, and making sure that we bring value back to the taxpayer dollars. I think if you talk to most Calgarians, they'd be happy to pay those taxes if they could see where it's going and how it's being spent, and making sure that those dollars are being spent properly.
And what would you say are some of the things the city should deprioritize in order to bring some efficiency back to the way that it spends?
Yeah, well, one thing that I would like to do, when I get to council is doing an audit on things like third-party contracts that we have at the city. One of those third-party contracts is the lawn care. That's something I hear a lot at the doors. You have the expectation to maintain your own lawn at home, but when you look out and you see a city-owned property has the grass is up to your knees, and so making sure that if we are contracting out some of these services to third parties, that we're getting the value back, and making sure that we are getting what we've been asking for as a city. So definitely want to also kind of looking at each department and finding those gotcha moments in the budget as well. I think there's been a lot of we are the Ward 3 that has the giant blue ring, and it's been what 13 years, 15 years since the giant blue ring, and it still comes up at the doors. and so just like a more recent example of art projects that kind of went awry would be the phone line to the Bow River. It was $65,000, and so for just a phone line set up to the to listen to the Bow River. I mean, art's subjective. I understand that, but wanting to make sure that we are allocating taxpayer dollars on the right things, making sure that we find those little, because every department knows, oh, this if this got broadcast to the taxpayers, they won't be happy. So let's find that ahead of time. Let's be proactive in the budget time and being like, do we really need this? Is this furthering the cause of what Calgary's trying to be right now, and what we are trying to be, like with the obvious kind of the big issue from last year was the water main break. Are we keeping up with our infrastructure? And so, like, while these fancy art projects are great, let's focus on making sure that if we are doing, like, so I don't want to bash art. I am one of those community groups that have been trying to get more art in our community. We did do a mural as part of the Nose Creek Preservation Society. I guess, like, I want to make sure that when we are allocating art dollars, it's local artists. That's what we did with the Nose Creek Preservation Society. We worked with a local Coventry Hills artist, Cam Hoff, to do a mural in Coventry Hills. And so trying to make sense of all these projects, and making sure that we are amplifying local and amplifying what we need out of this budget here.
Yeah.
So I went all over the map there. Sorry.
No, it's all good. One of the things I've heard from other candidates in this current election, but also just Calgarians as a whole, is there are some issues with the city taking on things that are just not in its jurisdiction, whether it's fighting with the province around, the supervised consumption site, or things with the Green Line LRT, which are both things we'll definitely talk about. But a big one is also the climate emergency. And a lot of Calgarians were saying that wasn't the best place for the city to put its stake when we have more local issues to consider, especially with our tax dollars. What do you think about these bigger things and the kind of friction, I guess, with other levels of government?
Yeah, I mean, that's something I've learned as an advocate as well. Like, when we were advocating for the high school, we had to advocate to the province. And when we started, it was in 2017 with the NDP, Rachel Notley, provincial government, to get the design funding. And then it was in 2019 with the Kenny UCP government to get the construction funding. And that's what I think councillors should be, is be able to work with any side of the political spectrum. And it really does matter to stay in our own lane. Make sure that we are working on what the city is supposed to be taking responsibility for, and really pushing the province to take responsibility for what the province is
Hmm.
supposed to be responsible for. And it's really important to do that right now. We have a provincial conservative government and a federal liberal government. We got to be able to work with both, and so really making sure that we are staying in our lane, but also just putting the pressure on the other levels to step up where they are responsible for as well.
Hmm. Hmm. And what are your thoughts on the interactions with the province? Like, let's think about the Green Line LRT. The project itself has many points to talk about. It's was positioned as one project, and now many years later, it's going to be half the length, serve half the people for double the cost. So, there's been a lot of issue with how the city and province work together on that, but also just on the project itself. Let's just start with kind of what are your thoughts on that project?
Yeah, the Green Line's been a burr in my saddle for a very long time. I've been advocating for it for close to a decade here, to come up to North Central Calgary. And in the last couple of years here, things really came off the rails. Not to be,
I
punny
like
here,
that.
but it did. It for me in North Central Calgary. I've grown up with there's a plot of land up here that has had a sign that said "Future LRT Park and Ride," and it's been there my whole life up here, saying, "Oh yeah, Green Line's coming, Green Line's coming," and I would say, over a decade of advocacy, I think it's further away now than when I started several years ago, because of the decisions made in the last 2 years to
Hmm.
push it to the south. When the ridership data shows we should be going to the north, and so the shovels, they want to get shovels in the ground. They've got shovels in the ground in Shepherd. It's going to be decades before it ever reaches North Central Calgary. And so for me, it's dead. It's not a project that I'm going to see to its fruition up here in North Central Calgary. And
Hmm.
what we really need is applicable solutions that we can apply right now to alleviate the overcrowded buses. We have more ridership up the North Central corridor than the west leg of the LRT has right now. And so when the data shows one thing and decisions are made to go in a different direction, it's not a data-driven decision. It's a political decision, and so
Hmm.
it is frustrating. I hope to have a relationship with our provincial government that we can get some stuff done up here. But I'm not campaigning on seeing the Green Line in my lifetime. I'm being very real on the solutions that we have to make up here to make life easier on people that are dependent on transit.
Hmm.
The max green is what we have right now, which is a bus rapid transit line up Center Street. We gotta make it better, because that's all we're going to get for the next 20 to 30 years, and people are dependent on a transit system that works. So I'm
Yeah.
focusing on the max green, and I'm focusing on the 144th Avenue BRT that's going to connect the red line in the northwest to the blue line in the northeast. I think those projects right now are more integral to getting more connectivity in Ward 3
Hmm.
than the Green Line will be, because it's just not going to happen in my lifetime.
Okay. And so if you're successful and you are in city council and yet another round of cost overruns happens for this project, what would you do? How would you manage that instance?
Yeah, well, so for me, it's like I feel like North Central Calgary doesn't have a stake in it anymore. One of the
Mm,
nice things about the way that the project was developing before was there was hope for both the southeast and the North
mhm,
Central to get the Green Line. Now there's not really a hope for me. That I don't really have a vested interest to get it done, other than then yeah, it will be good for Calgary 50 years from now. But for right now, we need a solution. So if it came down to it, like if we could get I I don't want to pit the South against the North in council, but yeah, it's like when it was a city building project that was connecting the whole city, it was worth fighting for.
Hmm.
At this juncture where we're at right now, for me in Ward 3, it's not high on my priority list. And so I'd have to see
Hmm.
the numbers. I'd have to see exactly the direction and how, like, because that's the problem, is if there are cost overruns on the southeast, it's never coming north. Like, it's not,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so like, you got to show me that it's gonna benefit us up in the north central Calgary,
Yeah.
to get me back on board with this, because it's right now I've I've left the station
Yeah.
because I'm I'm it's not helping us anytime soon. Show me the numbers, and we'll have that very fulsome discussion, I'm pretty sure, in the next
Hmm.
couple of years here when when it comes back to council.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And so on these big, huge kind of mega projects, how do you think that the costs and risks should be shared between the city and the province?
Yeah, I mean, a big project like that, like, that's the only way it's going to get done. And so that's why it is going to be interesting to see how they decide the core project's going to go. Right now, we have a province that says it's going to be elevated, and we have the city saying we should be going underground. And so, to me, that just continues to delay this. And
Hmm.
so, I gotta, like, when you do, we can't move forward without the equal partnerships that we have with the province and the federal government. And so it's either going to go elevated, or it's probably not going to happen
Hmm.
downtown. But right now we have like, most of the leading front runners for mayor are all saying it should go underground. So it's going to be interesting. Again, like, we do have to have a relationship with the province to get anything done, and delays have been the issue on this project, because every delay makes it more and more expensive.
Hmm.
And so, for me, it's a lot of what I saw in the past council and the decisions being made. It was, grasping at straws. They're still just trying to hold on to some of the other levels of government funding,
Hmm.
and when it's that sunk cost fallacy, that it's like, well,
Hmm.
we've put so much into it, we got to keep going.
Yeah.
And for me, when what's on the table right now with the southeast leg, that's not the green line of yesterday. That's not the green line that I grew up, hoping for.
Hmm.
And so I think it's got to be a full government, on all levels of government, got to come together, back to the table, and say, we need this. Like, if this project needs to survive, which it
Hmm.
does, like, I agree, like, a fulsome LRT network is important to Calgary, but it's gotta serve everyone, and it's not right now.
Yeah.
So how do we get it back to a position where all the levels of government on board, and yeah, maybe you get stubborn old jaded me up in Ward 3 on board as well, where you're showing me that this is a city building project and not just a southeast building project.
So show, don't tell.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I didn't know that the ridership data was so strong for the north, and for Ward 3, and that
Mhm.
that leads me to my next thoughts around transit safety. We've seen ridership kind of decrease overall due to concerns of safety, specifically relating mainly to the downtown LRT platforms and stations, but overall in the transit network. What are your thoughts on the current transit safety strategy and how the city manages that?
Yeah, I know there's been talk about trying to get them closed systems downtown, and I know the data, it doesn't really support that, like, putting up gates would improve safety. I think what it really comes down to is enforcement, that is the strategy that the city's using is more police officers on the ground at the stations and available in the area. And I think that is the right direction we need to go, and making sure that we're working with other partners, civic partners that deal with a lot of the homeless and drug use issues that are downtown. Making sure that I think putting resources both into the police and into these civic partners to help will go a long way, I think, in
Mm-hmm.
making transit safer. I guess the other thing is making a more complete transit system also brings more usage, and more people also make things more safer at the same time. So.
Mm-hmm. So do you think then that we need a fundamentally different approach to transit safety, or kind of just bolstering what is currently being done?
I think, yeah, bolstering the current plan, and yeah, adding more boots on the ground in the downtown core, and along the transit corridors. I know the system. The police are working on a transit integrated transit system of connectivity of which station, which police stations are monitoring which stations, and
Mm-hmm.
I would be on board with continuing that. Um, uh, yeah, just making sure that we're on top of it, and making sure that we're um, because that's the thing is like I said, I want a transit system to work up here in north central Calgary. I know it comes down to these LRT lines. I think that's what most people are concerned about, and a lot of people, I knock on the doors, and a lot of people don't even want the green line to come up into north central Calgary because of the fear
Mm-hmm.
of of the crime that it might bring. And I think we got to we got to make sure that we are creating that safety on the transit stations, and making people want to come back to using our transit, gets more cars off the road, and has the city running a lot smoother if everybody is feeling safe on our transit system, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I want to pivot back to something that you had mentioned earlier when we started the interview about the water main break from last year.
Mhm.
And so that was a catastrophic event for the city. Folks were out of water, or needing to boil water, or unable to, flush toilets or bathe for quite a long period of time. And many Calgarians were unhappy with the way that things were communicated, and the way that things were managed by the city. What are your thoughts on that? How did the city council do in their management of that crisis?
Yeah, I think it was definitely rough to start. I mean, when it is such a catastrophic failure to into our system, we yeah, definitely everybody was looking for information from the city to come out, and to start, it was very rough. I think they got better as things went on, and was able to communicate a little bit better. But I think it shows a significant. I mean, what I'm fighting for up here in the north is we've always had the north trunk of the feeder main project that's never gotten off the ground.
Mm.
So we're supposed to have a northern feeder main trunk that goes across the northern communities and up to Airdrie, and that's been on the books for a long time, and it just hasn't bubbled up. I think if we had that project moving a long time ago, like it should have been, we wouldn't have been in the situation we were in last year with the water restriction, because we would have had more capacity to handle an issue like that. And so it's definitely a learning experience. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it was important to see the findings come out of how do we deal with a crisis like that, but also, man, our infrastructure needs looked at because it's not up to snuff. And so so I definitely want to make sure that we are working on the northern trunk, but also looking into the other issues in our water system, like a full assessment of the 22% loss of potable water leaks in our system. Like, we're learning
Mm-hmm.
new things that have come out of this crisis. So these lessons learned need action, and so I want to make sure that these leaks are looked at, and that should be the first thing that we do after the third party review of the current crisis. Let's look at what we've found since then, and get to work on making our infrastructure system when it comes to water better. Like, what I've learned through my Nose Creek Preservation Society is
Mm-hmm.
how vital our water system is, and how much we really need to conserve as much as we can, because of the different it's going to be a very important resource in the future, as we've seen, like with droughts coming, and how important it is to keep our water system in top-notch condition. Leaks and catastrophic failures cannot happen when it is such a vital resource for our city.
Mm-hmm. And so, if you're in city council, how and what would you change about the way that the city prioritizes critical infrastructure or certain aspects of critical infrastructure?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a data, like I said, I'm a data-driven decision maker. A lot of what I've done in my career is look at the data and make decisions from there. I'm not going to pretend I'm a water specialist. I'm going to make sure that I get the experts to look at what does this city need, what is the most critical. I'm sure,
Mm-hmm.
like, there were probably red flags brought up in past councils that may have prevented this. So how do we look forward to the next 50 years, and make sure that we're making future Calgary better with the decisions that we make in this next term?
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, I do need to look and hear from experts in the field, because I'm not going to be an expert in every different part um, of our infrastructure system. So I definitely need the experts to bring forward their best data for us to make the best decisions. I think
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I've been frustrated, like going back to the transit discussion, is back in 2016 we used to have data, which, like, back to the Green Line discussion, the data showed that the 301 and the 3, which are both north central bus lines, were accounted for 40% of our bus overloads across the city. And now they don't track that information anymore. And so that was only 2016. And so making sure that we are pushing for the right data will really
Mm-hmm.
help us make better decisions on what is the critical thing to invest in going into this next budget, to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that we have a properly running infrastructure system for the next 30 to 50 years.
Yeah, yeah, metrics that matter, if you will.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
it's interesting because whenever I see the 301, it is always packed. It is one of those buses that you don't want to be behind because it will stop, and it will stop for a long time. So you don't want to be behind it in traffic, essentially. Um,
Exactly.
yeah. And so speaking a little bit more about transit safety, but also the use of public spaces and that sort of thing, leads me to the supervised consumption site in downtown Calgary. The only one in Alberta. It's had a lot of people that are really in favor of what it does, and then a lot that are really opposed to the placement of the site, or concerns about broader social impacts as a result. What are your thoughts on the current debate about the supervised consumption site and its location in downtown Calgary?
Yeah, I think, like, first and foremost, this is back to one of those, like, whose lane are we in?
Hmm.
And I do think when it comes to medical care, that is fully in the responsibility of the province. But whatever decision is made at that site has a huge impact on city services and the surrounding area.
Hmm.
And so I would really push for like I'm open to whatever the province decides to do. But if they do decide to shut down that location, I'd love to see what the plan is, because if we don't have a plan in place and we just shut down this safe consumption site, um, where are these individuals going to go? And they're going to go to a lot of city-owned resources, whether that's at libraries or that's on our transit system, like we talked about the safety of our transit system. They're going to go where people are because that's like there is a like I guess the reasoning behind a safe consumption site is if something goes wrong, there are services there to make sure that they can be dealt with, and so they generally do the same activities. If there's no safe consumption site, it'll be in public spaces, which that's going to be on the city to figure out. So it's kind of it's going to be a collaboration with
Hmm.
the ministers and premier on what is the best solution if we are going to move this or close this down. Let's see the plan. What's the plan, and how do we all work together to make the best of a really challenging situation?
Hmm. And so, even though a provincial decision, essentially, as you said, do you support the relocation or the closure, or do you have any thoughts on where it could be if you had a say?
Um, I mean, I would I like I would need to see the plan. Like I
Hmm.
said, like let's collaborate before I say this is a good plan or a bad plan. And so I would say so yeah, I would need to see it. But right now it is an important facility. Addictions is a very challenging subject, but having a medical facility for this is important. So where does that go? I don't know. I don't have the right answer of where that goes.
Hmm.
But right now, closest to a medical facility is is probably the right decision. But which, like, how do you manage that? And I think I would, like I said, being the data driven decision maker, I would want to hear from the experts in the field on what is the best direction to take that. And so yeah, I do believe it's in the province's realm, but with a close collaboration with the city, I think we can find a, a good balance of where this needs to go. It's just I would need to be more informed on a lot of things in that realm for sure.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and it's definitely one of those discussions that is a loaded discussion. Either way, you kind of have it. So it's a hard one to have, I find, because it's very emotionally driven, and so the data part of it can sometimes get lost. And I'm a very data driven person as well, so I also appreciate that perspective.
Mhm.
And so, from a standpoint of the election itself, like this is the first time that we're seeing political parties at the municipal level. Do you have any affiliations yourself, or are you running as an independent? Let us hear about where you sit in that.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of community advocacy, and all I've wanted as a community advocate is a representative that will lift the community voice.
Hmm.
And so that's what I intend to do. Is I'm an independent candidate, wanting to lift the community voice, not some backroom party voice. And so no, I right now I'm not affiliated with any political parties. I don't have any active memberships in any of the provincial parties, and so I just want to make sure that we can work together. I think it is. I think one of the things we've not really enjoyed about previous councils is like they've already kind of had those slates in the past.
Hmm.
That those ideological camps that get set up, and they just kind of vote in their little camps, and so it's the same vote every meeting. I hope I can buck that trend. I really want to make sure that I can work with everybody, and so I think that the best way to do that is running independently, and so I have been kind of rubbing elbows with all the different candidates across different wards at different events over the election, and I think it's really important that I'll be able to work with whoever shows up. It's going to be a very different council. There's a lot of people that aren't running again. So we'll have a lot of brand new faces, hopefully like
Hmm.
myself, to be able to start fresh and start new and really build those bridges amongst our different councillors across the city.
Hmm. Hmm. And you said that you don't have any memberships or anything to other political parties, but do you have any affiliations? And I only ask because that helps voters kind of understand your values at another level, whether they're more conservative or more liberal or more NDP or however that fits for you.
Well, it's been interesting. I've had I've had the full spectrum working on my campaign. I've had people door knocking with me who are um, full UCP members, and I've had people on my campaign who are NDP members, and so and former I have a really good relationship with my former MLAs, Rajan Sani, who is a UCP minister right now, and even before that, Jamie Kleinstuber, the NDP MLA that I had. And all of them are wishing me well on this campaign, and so I think that's going to be really important. Is the being able to be that centrist candidate that can work with all different political stripes, because there's a lot of work up here in Ward 3 to get done, and I hope I can build those bridges amongst the different levels of government to make it happen.
Hmm. Well, that's great. It all sounds really good, Andrew. Thank you for sharing your perspectives, your thoughts, and answering my questions. And as we close the interview today, is there anything you want to leave with our viewers, whether they're in Ward 3 or just kind of Calgarians at large?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a real a need for people to come together. I think since the pandemic, we've lost a lot of that community, being isolated in our houses, in our communities. My campaign has been just a way to bring more community together. I think my biggest thing is on my platform is amplifying our community's voice. I want to help my CAs, my community associations, to grow stronger in volunteerism. We've lost a lot of volunteerism since the pandemic, so I really hope that I can be a counselor that can help every community group get involved, whether that's within advocacy, or even just kind of learning how does our city council work? Like how does the city of Calgary, how do I engage with the city of Calgary? I think that's been a frustration for many Calgarians,
Hmm.
and so I definitely want to be that accessible counselor that can help people through the very complex processes at the city, and as well just navigate the complexities of different departments at the city, trying to make the politics boring and simple all at the same time. That's my hope. That as counselor, I can be the boring counselor that just helps you get some stuff done at the city.
Yeah, getting stuff done. I think that's what most Calgarians just want to see from
Yeah,
an upcoming council. So thank you again for spending your time with us here today. And thank you to all of our viewers. I do want to leave you and echo Andrew's thoughts about staying engaged. Please get out and vote. It's very important. We need to have a voice in this election and see a city council that really represents Calgarians and what we want for our city. So thanks again, Andrew. Good luck in your race.
thank you for having me.